Hi guys, welcome back to Code Master Coach, your medical coding tutor. Guys, I've had some questions, a couple of emails coming in asking me questions about the 3 questions I posted on yesterday on my YouTube video. So if you haven't yet viewed that video so that you'll know what I'm talking about today, go back and view yesterday's video on trying to find practice questions for my students in my medical coding program. Again, I posted 3 questions on yesterday and I gave the answers as well. Well, the multiple choices, and you're supposed to choose the correct answer. But I had some questions, and which is good because I like to stir up conversation. I want us to talk. I want us to learn. I want us to build on this channel. And the first thing I also want to stress is I'm a firm believer, guys. If you love your code books, ask my students, my number one saying, if you love your code book, it will love you back with the correct answer. Because I'm a firm believer, if you love something, you'll spend time with it, you'll get to know it, whether it's your dog or your children or your husband. Why not love your code books? Spend time in them, study them, learn them, get to know where everything is at. And with doing that, it'll help you become a stronger coder. And I want to stress one more thing. I know we teach in medical coding programs to study the guidelines. In my ICD-10, the first class, I show my students not only where the guidelines are in their ICD-10 CM code books, but I give them the website to go to in case they don't have their code books in front of them and they have a question. Go to the cms.gov website so that you can find the 115-page guideline on ICD-10 CM. Well, for CPT, we teach, the guidelines are at the beginning of each of the sections in CPT. Well, guys, there's a lot to learn within each section of CPT and not just the green pages that are considered the guidelines at the beginning of each section: E&M, anesthesia, surgery, radiology, path and lab, and medicine. Not just those green pages at the front of each of those sections, but even throughout. Let's look at some of the questions that we had on yesterday, and I think that brought up some of these emails that I received. Let me lower my box. And yesterday I know I looked at it and felt like my box wasn't small enough. So let me lower my box so that we can discuss this a little more detail to make sure everyone's understanding. All right, on yesterday, the first question said, patient is admitted to the hospital with acute abdominal pain. The attending medical physician requests a surgical consult, and the consultant agrees to see the patient and conducts a comprehensive history and physical exam. The physician ordered lab work to rule out pancreatitis, along with an ultrasound of the gallbladder and abdominal x-ray. Due to the various diagnoses, possibilities, and tests reviewed, a moderate medical decision was made. Well, first thing I had was, Coach, are we coding for the consultant or are we coding for the attending physician? Well, in this case, the attending physician requested a consult. And guys, if you don't read within your E&M section where it comes to consultations, just before the consultation section, and again on yesterday, I remind my students, always go to the back of your book to the alphabetic index, look up the main term, evaluation and management. If you're in the 2022 Professional Edition CPT, go back to page 1097, find the main term, evaluation and management, and look up consultations. Consultations range from 99241 to 99255. Then you go to the front to the E&M section of your CPT book to that range of codes. Well, guys, just before the first code, 99241, there is a full page of writing on what is, a consultation, describing consultations. So I feel like I need to make sure you understand, don't just read the guidelines at the beginning of each section. Read through. Spend some time in just E&M. E&M to me, is one of the harder sections of CPT. So really spend time reading through each of the codes, each of the little paragraphs of information before each one. Because on page 27, if you're in the 2022 Professional Edition, the heading consultation says, a consultation is a type of E&M service provided at the request of another physician or appropriate source to either recommend care for a specific condition or problem, or to determine whether to accept responsibility for ongoing management of the patient's entire care for the care of the specific condition or problem. Now, understand that a consultation must be initiated by a physician or a family member and not requested by a physician or other appropriate source. Says here, example given: a physician assistant, nurse practitioner, doctor of chiropractor, physical therapist, occupational therapy, speech language pathologist. It goes on to name some more, and is not reported using the consultation code, but may be reported using the office visit, home services, domiciliary rest home care codes as appropriate. And then it says the written or verbal request for consult may be made by a physician or other appropriate source and documented in the patient's medical record. So again, a consult is at the request of one physician or healthcare provider to another, whether it's written or verbal, but usually you'll see an order in the chart. I've requested such and such to consult, to come in and consult. Okay, so I want to make sure I stress that to you. Also, once you identify what a consultation is, it breaks down the difference between an outpatient consultation and an inpatient consultation. So in looking at this range of codes that the back of the book gave you, 241 through 255, you can automatically, in your choices, it said 241 through 255, you can automatically wean these two codes out. They're not even within the range of codes, okay? And then it says this patient is in the hospital. So you can even go right here to, and know it's got to be 254, because 244 is an outpatient consultation. So we know the answer to number one right there has to be C 99254, because all of the others you weaned out. You didn't really have to even know, other than understand what's going on here, to be able to answer number one. So I hope I made that clear. Number two, again, I stressed you need to know the difference between a new and an established patient, because they said this was an established patient returns to the physician's office. You notice when you're doing the alphabetic index, you go to the back, evaluation and management again, page 1097, and you're looking for office and other outpatient setting. And you have to distinguish, was your patient an established or a new patient, to get your appropriate range of codes. So again, know the difference between new and established, and guys, it's right there in your book, the definition. You know that you're in the physician's office. So looking at these codes down here, based on what we know, this was an established patient. Well, we know that 202 is a new patient. 213 can be an established. 214 is established. 232 is not even a physician office visit. 232, let's see what 232 is a subsequent hospital care code. So even weaning these two, you know B and C cannot be the answer. So it's got to be 213 or 214. And with this case, with it being a return follow-up visit, the answer is a 213, guys. Okay? So I wanted to point that out. So you can wean out two of the choices. And then three, this one was the good one. This one was a little tricky, and I even have a question for you on that one. Patient arrives in the emergency room via medical helicopter. The patient has sustained multiple life-threatening injuries due to a multiple car accident. The patient goes in to cardiac arrest 10 minutes after arrival, and it says an hour and 30 minutes of critical care time is spent trying to stabilize the patient. Well, we know the critical care codes. Well, let me do it appropriately. You're going to go to the back of your book, page 1097, to evaluation and management, main term. We're trying to find critical care, and it gives us our critical care codes are 99291 and 292. So let's go up to the front to E&M 99291, 292, and it gives you the time. You can go ahead and schedule this time. Well, you'll learn that you don't assign a 292. 292 has a plus sign in front of it. That's an add-on code. So you cannot assign the 292 by itself. Okay? All right, and then looking at your options here, I'm the main thing I want to pull from this is that if you look in the guidelines again that are within the E&M section, page 32 gives you some information, just like the consultation. There's information on critical care services. For critical care services, there's a whole page in the code book before I even get to the actual critical care codes. And if you're looking in these guidelines about critical care services, this is where I'm challenging you. I have an asterisk that says critical care and other E&M services may be provided to the same patient on the same date by the same individual. Because remember, the rule of thumb with E&M is only one E&M per day, per patient, per physician, per condition. So this is saying I can generate an E&M code for the emergency room along with the critical care codes. Hint, hint. But looking at A, look at A. Well, okay, it's the appropriate way to look even the emergency room E&M code up because this patient arrived to the emergency room. Okay, make sure I stress that. So services were rendered in the emergency room. And then they also had this critical care services of an hour and 30 minutes. So if I were to code the emergency room E&M code, and looking at this, both of these are E&M codes, but here's another one, 288, not two E&M of the same setting. So that weaned that one right out. Here it just, B identifies the hour and a half of critical care. So I would have allowed B, but even C, there's your critical care codes, but along with your E&M code for the emergency room. And then 282 is just the ER without the critical care. So based on these codes, I would have gone with B as your answer. But I wanted you guys to see that there is in the writing under critical care services that says critical care and other E&M services may be provided to the same patient on the same date by the same individual. So I thought that was interesting. All right. So again, make sure you capture number 3. Make sure you capture the critical care services. You can wean out the ones that you know are not the correct answer, and it leaves you with what's got to be the correct answer. All right. Keep the conversation coming. I thought that was interesting. I'm going to pull some ICD-9 questions that I want to convert to ICD-10 on tomorrow's video. And I would love your help because I have not yet converted these ICD-9 codes to ICD-10. So again, tomorrow, look for a video with at least 3 diagnoses, questions that are in that old book that I found that was dated back to 2011 that I want to convert to ICD-10, and I'd appreciate your help. All right, guys, keep the emails, the questions. Let's keep the conversation going because, again, I can learn from you just like you can learn from me. I love to hear it. It's making me think. It's making you think. But ultimately, if you don't get anything else from my videos, love your code books. Learn them, read them, study them, and they'll love you back with the correct answer, guys. All right, thanks, guys. I'll see you in the next video.